Hello, welcome to or welcome back to the channel. I am Luke, and this is the second video of its kind on this channel. Just me rambling, stream of consciousness. I am uploading on full moons and new moons, just kind of check-ins with my life. And if you've found yourself watching this video, let me know how you got here, because I'd be very curious and interested to know. And not only is this the second kind of video in the sense that it's the full moon and new moon kind of update, it's also the second time I'm filming this video because the first recording I did earlier today did not save. The battery died and the file is gone forever. So I'm a bit discouraged by that. And so I'm worried that I might not be able to recapture whatever magic was initially there. And so if I seem a little reserved or kind of withheld, that may be a reason why. It's also later in the day, and I'd like to do these videos earlier, but I also don't want to ramble about the video as much. Let's get this out of the way. I want to actually talk about something. And I think it's interesting that all of this is happening because I'm at a place in my life where I have more than ever a responsibility to take actionable steps toward goals, toward my desires. In essence, I'm speaking about how if I'm aware of what I want, it's my responsibility, not anyone else's, to actually go out there and get that. And I mean that simply in terms of if I want to make videos, if I want to have the privilege of having some kind of audience, then it's my responsibility to make videos, to actually put work into it, and to make sure that it's quality or provides value or any of those other buzzwords. But also, at the end of the day, I just want this as a creative outlet to be able to explore and expand my sense of self in relation to the world. And so I'm going to touch on some subjects and topics that may, through time, kind of loop back on themselves and be a bit redundant, or I might be saying the same thing in different ways. And I think that's natural. I think that's a natural part of growing up. And there's a lot of different directions I could take this, but really I just want to focus on the passage of time and how there is limited time, but seemingly unlimited desires, and desiring machines in a way in which it's not merely sufficient to understand humans in terms of drive reductions, in terms of we have this hunger drive, and so we eat and then we reduce our desire for hunger. Or it's more like there's pleasure in eating and consuming, and we are beings that not only hold on to energy or have the capacity to hold on to energy, but we are conduits of meaning. We are a nexus of energy, and that what we consume, we become, and what we intake, we create. And there's this kind of reciprocal relationship there that's been, gestured at and commented on and analyzed throughout human history. The ancient ideas of karma and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like, what goes around comes around. You get what you give. These kind of cliches that I'm interested in. How do we as humans, as young people, actually make a difference in this world in a way that's tangible? We live in a society, shocker, that has become more instantaneous than ever. Ideas of instant gratification rather than long-term satisfaction. There's a loss of patience, and you might even say there's been a loss of tenacity or resilience. And I don't think we can put that on the youth. I don't think we can put that on ourselves. That's society at large. And I'm not trying to take away agency from the individual. I do believe that there is, if not free will, at least free ability to choose one's attitude in a very bleak way. You could say Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, when he was a psychiatrist who wrote about his experiences in the Nazi concentration camps, he basically said the last of the human desires, pardon me, the last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given situation, to choose one's orientation toward the world. And we live in a very disorienting world. We have AI, for instance, that is growing rapidly, exponentially, and we have these tech billionaires and tech bros, and however you want to conceptualize them or put them in a bubble. We have these people who have a tremendous amount of power and influence over the future of the entire species in a way that, I don't know, no matter what you believe about evolution or the history of humanity, we are at a very specific point that's unique and unlike any other time in human history. And I can't stress that enough. It's unlike any other time in human history in a way that requires tedious and laborious unpacking and dissecting and deconstructing and reconstructing, because ultimately these are necessary constructions to some extent. I can't finish my words today. These are necessary and they are natural, but at the same time we do have some obligation to make the world a better place. We can't simply... I saw a quote at a park that said, what did it say? Something about how the excellent becomes... like something about how excellence becomes the norm. And I think that can be true, but it's also a way of justifying whatever power relations happen to be in place for a variety of historical and cultural contextual histories. I'm really struggling to speak, sorry. Not having the first video took a lot out of me. And I mean, it was, if I want to talk about that, it was rambling, it was kind of fast-paced, and it was more energetic. It was a totally different vibe than how I feel like this video is coming out to be, but it is important to me to actually film myself talking to the camera. I'm not sure if I'm making enough eye contact. It is important for me to film myself talking to the camera, and I appreciate you if you have gotten this far, because this is not a typically entertaining video on YouTube, but I'm viewing this more as just like a placeholder for I need to build consistency. And my last video did way better than I thought it would be. I think I got around 400, 500 views. I was expecting it to get 10, so there is some pressure I'm feeling to produce quality work, but also I just want to maintain that I am capable of creating this type of content consistently with whatever drawbacks or setbacks come, and it's been frustrating. And part of that frustration is just how slow everything is taking. Everything just takes time and patience, and my interests are so varied. I'm sure you can relate to this. My interests are so varied that I feel pulled in so many different directions, and I've access to so much more information than I know what to do with, and I want to make the world a better place. I want to be an impetus for positive change, and yet I know on some level it's not my responsibility to change people's minds. I can't change other people. The only person I can't change is myself, and that's very difficult because myself is a kind of loose accumulation of these traits and experiences that have been informed by various outside factors that I can't claim responsibility for, and yet I have to claim responsibility for the result, for the product that is me. And we're involved in this kind of natural but unnatural production of space in which humans have altered and terraformed the landscape in ways that are inescapably past a point of turning back. What's that called? The brink of no return, the point of no return. Reminds me of a memory. You might get a kick out of this. You might find it boring, but there's an adventure park, a water park in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Dells. Noah's Ark is the name of one particular park, and they have a water slide called the Point of No Returns, and it's, I don't know, 6, maybe 10 stories high, and it's just a straight drop down, and that's it. It's a water slide, and my family had the privilege of being able to go on a day where it wasn't that busy because the weather was overcast. It was kind of chilly, and I just remember I would run up the stairs, however many flights, and I would get to the top. There was no line, and I would go right back down, and I had a blast. And I would do that over and over and over again, maybe 5, 6 times, just me in that loop. And the thrill of it was exciting. I mean, eventually I moved on to other rides, but isn't that strange? And there's also a dream I had as a child. Again, this might just be me personally indulging in myself, but maybe you'll share a dream you had as a child, or a similar dream, or something that will, I don't know, maybe there's a weird connection there. But in the dream, I remember it just being orange, and I don't know if it's around, it's probably not around here, but I remember drawing this dream on a piece of paper in middle school or high school. It was the dream itself was orange, and there was a slide, and there was like a potato sack on the top of the slide, and I would climb up the slide, or no, I would climb up the steps to the slide and go down, and I'd get stuck in the potato sack, and but there'd be like an opening, and I'd escape and slide down the slide, and then I would just do it again. I would climb up, go down, but this time it was a little bit trickier to get out of the bag, and then I would go down, walk around, run around, I don't know, scamper up, go down the slide again, and again the bag that I was sliding into became more difficult to kind of tear open and get out of, but I would, but eventually I was just trapped in the bag from what I remember, and that was the extent of the dream. And so we have this kind of cyclical experience of rushing for, I don't know, a big dopamine rush, and each time becoming more and more trapped. I'm not sure if I can relate this to anything, but it is interesting in that I've been speaking to and thinking about how do we actually do the things that we want to do in life, because we're part of this broader social fabric, and we kind of operate under the myth, or at least the idea, that if we play our cards right, can get the life we want. We can experience that, and there's certain images in culture that are kind of propped up as the life to have. Everybody's kind of collective fantasy of the nuclear family, or of celebrity and stardom, or just consistent work and meaningfully relating to a community. I think that last one has something there. I think there's something there that transcends media portrayals or representations of whatever story they're telling. But at the end of the day, it does kind of feel like Sisyphus rolling the stone up the hill, only for it to fall back down. And if we can't find enjoyment in that, then it's really difficult to find enjoyment at all, because so much of life is rote tasks. repetition, tedious responsibilities one step at a time. And I mean, I've been stretching physically, kind of like stretching my legs and arms and back, and trying to stay loose and flexible with my body. And that has helped tremendously, I think, in being more grounded and being able to approach life with a sense of lightness instead of dread, instead of this pit in my stomach that has been all too familiar with me ever since my mid-teens, let's say. And I think stretching is a good metaphor to understand most of our activities, stretching and exercise and physical activity, because you want to extend yourself, you want to grow outside of your comfort zone, but you don't want to injure yourself or harm yourself. But there is going to be some discomfort, dare I say even pain, but it's from that experience and the muscles breaking down that they then are restored and come back stronger and are healed in the process. But you have to keep engaging the muscles. You can't just go for the most extreme stretch for a second, maybe get a pop or something out of the bones, and then that's it. No, you have to kind of hold the stretch, actually experience the tension in the muscles and exercise that, engage with it, and then release and kind of, I don't know, be curious about what it's like to be in a body, which is something that I think a lot of stuff today takes us out of our body. And even me doing this is kind of because I know that I'm performing in some sense right now, and I can see the image on the camera of me that you are seeing, and I know that there's an element of superficiality there, and I want to get beyond that screen and try to touch on something more deep and profound and personal and human. But it's very difficult because of that two-dimensional representation of who I am, of what you're seeing versus what I'm experiencing, and vice versa. I can only get a glimpse of you in the comments if you are so kind as to leave a note. And, well, it's incredible that at any other time in human history, in say like 100 years ago and back further, we may have never had the opportunity to connect in the comments section or online in the way that we are connecting right now, if anybody is watching this. And it's remarkable that we have that ability for connection, and also how it also antagonizes it polarizes us a little bit. And I want to know and figure out if there's a way to be involved and engaged online, politically even, without having that divide or demonization of the other side. But because stances get so entrenched and fundamental, it's hard to get to that point. And all it takes is one bad actor or one person in a bad mood, and our drives just get in the way of connecting with each other. And I also don't want to sound like a centrist here per se, because I think that there is some things worth taking a stance on that are controversial, and I really believe that there is some sense of right and wrong in this world. But if we're trying to actually talk about that and justify it, I'm not sure that reason and rationality is maybe the most effective way to go about it. But what other resources do we have beyond that? I don't think rationality is transcendent per se. I think it is in large part a human production, but it's also one of the best tools we have. We just have to check it and realize its limitations and recognize that reality is outside, extends far beyond what we are able to put into these tiny little linguistic bubbles and these packets of terms. No matter how precise or jargony we're able to get down, on some level, reality exists beyond language, beyond analytics, beyond our comprehension, and it has to be felt, it has to be lived, and it has to be, I mean, this is the entire idea of being grounded, because we don't want to be disembodied like what social media and mass communication tends to do. The idea of, when the telephone was invented and you were able to hear people's voices for the first time and have them not be in front of you, that's kind of startling, and it's only gotten more augmented from there. And I want to wrap this up because it is getting a little bit on the longer side, but ultimately I just want to continue going through life with a curiosity and a sense of grounding, which is difficult, and I recognize that. And I hope that you're able to get some sense of grounding as well in your journey, wherever you are at. And I'm going to do my best to continue these uploads every full moon or new moon. Again, maybe half moons, but that's a bit ambitious for now at least. And I will be uploading every Monday a little spurious improv art project of drawing and whatnot. So you have that to look forward to if you are interested in that. Totally understandable if you aren't. I'm still very much in the developing new to this phase, even though I have experience editing and whatnot. You can look at my older videos if you want to see some of my more experimental edits. But for now, this is all I'll say. I hope to be more prepared next time so that I get the first recording right and don't have to redo it like I have done with this video. But I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. Make sure to stay hydrated. And yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought.